why I'm postponing the Reap Invitational number 3. As of December, I felt the urge to announce the next date for the next event. We had 2 really successful events last year, and I thought, let's do 3 this year. Let's really up the ante, give lots of people a chance to compete on our event, make some banging matches. Easy in theory. Thinking back, the reason I announced the date in December was because I noticed there was so many invitationals appearing and popping up that happening in this quarter, I guess, from now up until April. Some of them amazing, really good cards. Things like Gorilla Invitational and Valhalla Submission Grappling, for instance. Some of them not so good, which is fine. We didn't invent the wheel. We started Reap Invitational because we thought there was potential there to create something cool, but we're still doing an invitational, 10-minute matches, priority on submission and stuff like that. Certainly not a new concept, and something that I've noticed, I guess, over the past 6 months that everybody's having a crack at, which they're more than welcome to. Somebody who's got some mats and a space to put on an event and sell some tickets on Eventbrite, it's pretty easy to pull together and to do. The hard part is the matchmaking, and I find it's not hard on paper because there's lots and lots of grapplers from blue belt up to black belt that want to compete on these types of events. The hard part is finding and making compelling matches. Now, we pride ourselves on doing that and putting on an invitational that's in a bit of a different venue that most people would normally use, that lends itself to the vibe and the atmosphere, and also putting on matches that perhaps other people might not have thought to have put on, or like compelling scraps from up and comers that may have not faced each other yet and stuff like that. That, because of the sheer amount of invitationals happening at the minute, it's becoming harder and harder and harder. Lots of people have already faced each other. Lots of athletes are injured. Lots of people just don't have the time or the headspace, or they're thinking, fucking hell, another one. We're trying to change the game at our level a little bit by paying the athletes where we can, covering travel and stuff like that, not charging for like ticket deals and stuff like that, not saying buy 3 tickets and you can sell 3 tickets to your friends and family and you get the pleasure of competing on our event. We want to do things differently, as I've discussed at length on that. Doing that, because of the sheer volume of matches and events and invitationals, has just become impossible. We're under a month out now, and I've made some great matches. I've announced a couple of them. I've spoken to those athletes obviously before putting this video out, and they are all going to hopefully be ported onto our next event. We're not cancelling the event, we're going to postpone it. They're all happy to move those matches across, but it also gives us a little bit of breathing space, a little bit of time to think, reassess what makes our events great, how we can build upon that and make them even greater, and put on something that isn't subpar. There's the temptation, or there was the temptation, to have the matches that we've already got, build up the card with some okay matches with some people that are okay grapplers, or good grapplers, and just kind of take the money and run. Put the event on, sell it out like we've done for the last 2 events, and put it on, put it online, and go, there you are. But it just didn't feel quite genuine. It didn't feel like something that Reap wanted to put their name to. We want to put banging cards together, great shows, high level production. That's what we're all about. We couldn't quite get it over the line for March 16th. There's just the talent pool is quite limited. So then you pull people from different worlds, perhaps MMA fighters or judo guys or wrestlers or whatever, and try and mash them together to create matches that the guys perhaps haven't been offered before. Compelling matches in the Jiu Jitsu scene, because you get lucky, you get 2 competitors that are really good at a good level and haven't faced each other yet, and also a top level headliner from a guy that isn't seen that often in the submission only scene, or perhaps like a high level grappler, like I said before, versus an MMA fighter or something like that. Again, we tried and tried. People were booked, people were busy, people had fights coming up, people had 7 matches before their match in March, which as an athlete is fantastic if that's your thing and you're being compensated. Remember that. As a promoter, that's quite tough, because why is anyone going to come see this guy when he's already on show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 before this one? It's quite hard to grab that, spin it into a narrative, and turn it into something. I mentioned to somebody I was speaking to this morning, one of our sponsors, who asked me about it, and I kind of said it feels similar to the DIY music scene back in the day, where the bands that would be successful would be the ones that didn't play every gig that was offered to them, they would look at the best opportunities, and maybe out of 8 offers they'd take 4 of them, because everybody gets weary of seeing you, especially in, I guess, the north of England. Oh, so and so's on that again. Okay, I've seen him grapple before. Yeah, he's pretty good, but I've seen him 100 times already. Also, I think you can charge more for those select appearances. So you go, no, I'm not going to do that card, I'm going to do that card. And actually, for the exclusivity of me on that card, I want X amount, £100 or whatever it is. We'll pay that, we'll support it, if it means you're not doing an event before it or after it or something like that. So that's just a word to the wise. And if you are a competitor out there and you're thinking about perhaps making money from Jiu Jitsu, which is tough, but it's possible, maybe think about your match selection a bit more. If you just want to get fucking hundreds of matches under your belt because you're preparing for ADCC or Worlds and you want loads of comp experience, fucking go for it. Do what's best for you, but that's just a word to the wise that I've taken from the music industry. So I think that explains it. There's probably too many invitationals. We're struggling to make a splash. Everything that we do, we want to make a splash. This wasn't an easy decision to make. We financially do quite well out of the invitationals. Obviously, we make a bit of profit, which a lot of goes back into the athletes and travel, but we take a little bit of that because it costs money to put on an event like this and takes a lot of time and headspace, and the existing costs money, so we take a little bit of cash from that. So we're probably taking a loss overall in the year by doing less invitationals, but we want to do better ones. I'm not going to raise the price or anything like that, but we are aiming for June time. I'm going to speak to the venue, speak about the potential dates, stuff like that, and then look at building a big headliner and the card underneath it, which is what we aim to do in the first place. It's what we've done for the last 2. We've obviously always had like some fallouts and stuff like that, which is to be expected with athletes, and injuries happens at the biggest levels, happens in the biggest UFC cards, so it's always going to happen to us at our level. But yeah, we want to make something that we're really, really proud of, that we can scream from the rooftops, put on a banging broadcast, put on really, really exciting, interesting cards that have a storyline behind them, and that just wasn't possible for March. So we're going to aim for June. We'll announce stuff when it's confirmed, when it's announced, but right now we're in a really lovely spot because there's no pressure. We can take a big, big look at the entire world of Jiu Jitsu and go, right, yeah, him versus him, her versus her, let's fucking like bang these together, put on a banger of a card. In a great venue which is expanding. We've talked about the issues in the past with the venue, but the venue is going through some changes which are only going to benefit us, which we're super excited about. More mat space, more athlete warm-up space, tons of other stuff to offer in terms of the production as well. So really, really excited for that. Some of you might be disappointed and sad, that's okay. Sponsors and stuff like that, obviously we'll reach out to you closer to the time and get in touch, and we value your support. So yeah, March 16th, just chill out for the day instead. Don't worry about Reap Invitational. It's one less invitational for you to burn some cash on for the next couple of months. So don't worry about that. Save you 20 quid for our next event in June. Right, thank you for listening. There's a full, better articulated explanation on our Substack, which I'll link somewhere if you want to read that instead of listening to me drawn on. But yeah, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. That's why we're postponing Reap Invitational 3. We'll be back soon.